Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
From the missing to the mysterious mountains of Montana, you know what it's time for. Here comes Super Duke. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. Yes, the man, the myth, and the legend, Super Duke, all rolled into one. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, bud. Good to be here for the weekly visit with you and all of your wonderful followers and listeners.
Well, we should have an exciting little piece of news that if you miss this segment live, you can always go over to Super Duke's YouTube channel. Sorry, it's this way. Super Duke's Super Duke's YouTube channel and catch this segment again on his channel. And thank you, Duke, for the collaboration on putting Spaced Out Radio on World Bigfoot Radio as well. That when you came up with that idea, it was so weird and so synchronistic because I was thinking about that and I love the idea and I appreciate you approaching and saying, hey, dude, let's do this.
Well, yeah, why not? I can use more content from my channel. I'm only on once a week, and it's not like this is throwaway content. All the viewers on my channel are missing it. I actually prep for these shows and try and find really good stuff and, interesting news bits and old reports and stuff like that to talk about, none of which is on my channel. So, it's a win-win. They find out that the show's going on over here, the late nighters, and maybe start showing up for it. And in the meantime, you probably get some subs out of it. So, everybody collaborate.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Yeah. And that's going on with me this week. I had gigantic Bigfoot Clearinghouse channel, NVTV, which just put out a video every day. It's either like whatever's the newest thing, they'll put out a video on it. Or something that might not be so new that somebody's taken another closer look at, they put a video out on it. Or like something from 5 years ago and there's nothing new and they'll just put that out because everybody forgot about it and they put that out. So they got a video like every day. And they finally figured out if they provide attribution that the people they stole the video from won't show up and yell at them and give them copyright strikes, which is going on for years. So when they put mine up, somebody went, hey, Duke, they shared your video. And I went and looked at it. And right away at the beginning of the screen, oh, this video is from Duke at World Bigfoot Radio. And I'm like, okay, good. Go ahead and have fun. And they used a lot of stuff from Blaine. And I remember Blaine got really bent out of shape one time because they showed the whole damn video where he's got all this really cool video. But it's like, unless you're a Bigfoot expert, you're not going to be able to pick out the Bigfoot in the background. And in the end of the video where he picks them all out and shows them off, they cut that part of the video out.
Oh, no.
So he got really bent out of shape. And apparently at some point they used some picture of his for a thumbnail And Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch was trying to find a suitable thumbnail, and he thought it was something that they had rights to. So he used it, and Blaine showed up going, "What the hell are you doing using my picture without giving me any credit?" And Kelly's all like, "I didn't know it was your picture, man." So this kind of stuff happens a lot. It's fairly hilarious. But the ones that do it on purpose, that's a different story, where they steal somebody else's stuff and then claim it's theirs.
You know what?
Naughty.
I'm having that trouble on Rumble. And once we get a few things going, there is a Russian channel out there that is actually taking my content nightly and capitalizing on it. And so I have.
What do they wait? Are they dubbing it in Russian or something? Because how many Russians?
They're playing it in English.
Okay,
they're playing it in English, and there's a couple Russian channels on Rumble that if you type in "spaced out radio," you'll actually find them, which is kind of neat. But I mean, right now it's like, okay, use the promotion, but you know what? They're making money off of me, and I don't have a Rumble channel. So,
well, if you saw the vast amounts that could be made on Rumble, you wouldn't be griping nearly as much. Because it's like nothing. Unless you're getting 1 million views, you're not getting anything from them.
Well, put it this way. I know the channel has a lot more subscribers on it than my own personal YouTube channel for Spaced Out Radio. So
awesome. They'll find the YouTube one. They'll come over and sub over here.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, at least share the subs, before I shut down your channel. But yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? It's really sad that there are people out there that will actually go and make money off of your content and try and fool the world on it. So it's kind of interesting.
Yep, there was another example of that. Is this kept coming? It comes around every so often, but the last time was on Sasquatch Minnesota Breakdown. I can't remember exactly what the name of the channel was, but somebody had sent it to him saying that they had recorded it locally, and they got a series of Bigfoot howls, and they were legit on the part of, those were actually Bigfoot howls. In fact, there's 3 Bigfoot making noises. But it was not local. They had actually stolen it from a field researcher in Louisiana and claimed it was theirs. And I know the guy they stole it from.
Oh, no way.
This stuff happens pretty frequently.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Super Duke, we got 10 minutes to go until we get to the bottom of the hour. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, first three brief announcements. One, Iron Dogger, who's probably still in the chat room, is going to be on my show this weekend talking about Bigfoot up in Alaska. And the one trackway that she found when it was 26 below and she was out snowmobiling.
Wow.
Pretty cold to be walking around barefoot, huh? And then, of course, she got her name from the Iron Dog sled race, which at the time she ran, it was 2,000 miles. That's a lot of snowmobiling. And her and her partner, Misty, were the first female team ever in history to complete the race. And since then, now in this age of smash the patriarchy and girl power, there's only been one other female team that have completed the race in the 20 years since then. So she is a very tough lady, and she's got some really interesting stories to listen to. She's got some orb video, and she was also recently investigating the stone giant's door in the side of the mountain in Oregon, which is really close to where she's at. So we're going to have that in there too. So all you guys that are all fascinated by the stone giant door that you've been seeing going viral all over TikTok, come on over to my channel this Sunday for some updates on that. And also, there was recently a picture released of a car wreck on Interstate 35 in North Texas, I think it was. It's somewhere in Texas. There's a whole, multiple lanes of traffic. The cars are all snarled up, piled up. And over on the right-hand side, where the big barrier on the side of the road is, there's this humanoid-looking monster that just stepped over it, beaten butt into the woods. Guess what caused the car wreck? And at least one person got a pretty good picture of it. And we've looked at it quite a bit and passed it around to the experts. And this is one of the few times where we're completely stumped. We do not know what the hell this thing is. It's not a Bigfoot, but it apparently caused a car wreck. So not a good critter. And then for the last thing, of course, coming up here in a couple days, we've got Thanksgiving here in the 50 weird states. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Remember, Thanksgiving symbolizes being together and not fighting with each other and having a peaceful day and eating until you're so full you can't fight. And also try and remember that during some of these holidays, there are people that have very little to nothing, or perhaps they don't have any family and they're spending a holiday alone. And try and help those people out too and give them a Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
So, now that I'm done being all maudlin and sappy, here's some really cool Bigfoot reports. And we're back to David Weatherly's Monsters of Big Sky Country book again, all the way up to page 62. And we are going into the mid-1970s now. If you guys remember from the last show, we had that sheriff here that got so many reports in his area. When he retired, he became a Bigfoot researcher. It actually turned out a book on it because it was just like, what the heck is going on around here? And him and all of his deputies and everything were investigating the reports, and they came in instead of laughing, which is how he got started on in the first place. So this is after that section. Something must have stirred the creature up that week, because the following morning, East Helena resident Leonard Hegel was traveling on Interstate 15 south of Great Falls International Airport when he spotted a large bipedal creature moving across a field around a quarter of a mile from the highway. Hegel stopped the car and got out with his .357 Magnum in hand. He ran into the field to pursue the creature and got within about 700 feet of it, but when it turned and faced him, he decided to retreat back to his vehicle. Hegel told Cascade County Sheriff's officers that the hairy thing was about 7 feet tall with 3 foot wide shoulders. His wife and children were with him at the time of the sighting. Also, in February 1976, a young man named Leonard Semgard had a fright when he was on his way home from school one afternoon. The 13-year-old boy usually walked through a field on his route, but on this particular day, the field was occupied by an 8-foot tall creature covered in dark hair. The boy rushed to a phone booth and called his grandmother to come retrieve him. The following month, on March 7, a woman phoned and spoke with a deputy sheriff to report a creature sighting. She said the thing was crossing a road on the highway north of Vaughan when she spotted it. It was reddish brown and hairy. The woman said the beast was standing in a ditch with one arm forward, and she had the impression it was about to cross the road.
Super Duke on World Bigfoot Radio, right here for the Cryptid Report. We will continue with these great report stories from Super Duke right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Final half hour is next.
Yeah, and I agree with that assessment. When you've got that many encounters happening that fast, one right after the other in a small area, there's something going on. Because they're usually way better at hiding.
Couple questions from DB Nobody here. Do you think Bigfoot has anything to do with the missing 411 phenomena?
Yes, but not nearly as much as some people like to say. And Dave Pilates is heading toward the UFO thing too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the connection? They abduct Bigfoot just like they abduct humans.
I wish I could say something right now. I can't. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, and we are hanging on out. It is story time here with some incredible encounters. Super Duke, welcome back.
Hey, I'm back. And happy upcoming Thanksgiving again, everyone. And you already heard the message, so I'm not going to give it again. But keep that blissful, peaceful feeling in your heart. And be very careful of large gathering areas because some bad people might be planning on doing something. So stay away from them. Meanwhile, back to the reports.
Hold on a second. Whoa. I'm pulling the reins in here. You're not telling people to not go shopping at Black Friday, are you?
I doubt any of those would be good targets of opportunity. I would say big sport gatherings and big concerts and stuff would be what you'd want to avoid.
All right. Because Duke, I draw the line. If this interview would have been over if you were saying to our great American public not to be heading to the stores on Black Friday and beating the living tar out of each other. Okay. I need that. The world's watching, America.
Well, so does the Jerry Springer crowd that don't have a show to watch anymore, and that's the ones that are doing it. So anyway, back to the Bigfoot reports. Later that month, a teenager said he saw a hairy creature standing in the middle of Dempsey Road in Great Falls north of me. The boy was riding his bike around 9 o'clock at night. The creature ran through a hedge in the yard of a house and vanished. Like many other witnesses of the period, the boy was given a polygraph test and passed. And at this point, I'm going to break in and give a Bigfoot report that isn't in the book. One of the people that was one of my team members for about 5 years was driving from Great Falls to Missoula and saw a Bigfoot standing on an open road adjacent to the freeway watching the cars. And only because he turned his head at the right second as they zoomed past it did he see there was this massive humanoid figure filling up most of this one-lane road going off into the trees, standing there watching cars. So then he contacted me. And after this, he became one of my best research assistants, found tons of track structures, blah, 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 you name it. But that was how he got started. He's just driving down the road, going to visit mom down in Missoula, looks to his side. Oh my God, what is that? Yeah, well, it looks like about a 9-foot Sasquatch standing in the middle of this little road, watching the traffic go by on the freeway adjacent to it. So this is like fairly regular around here. Most of this stuff just doesn't get reported. I mean, he never filed a report on it. So later that month, the teenager said he saw, okay, we got that one, blah, blah, blah. Or did we? Dempsey Road in Great Falls. The boy was riding his bike around 9 o'clock at night. Creature ran through a hedge in the yard of a house and vanished. Like many other witnesses of the period, the boy was given a polygraph test and passed it. The following month, another young man spotted a tall, hairy creature near his home in Helena, and Helena is the capital of Montana, so it's a good-sized town. According to Captain Wilburton and Deputy Ken Anderson, who investigated the case, the boy woke up around 4:30 a.m. on April 4th because he was restless. He stood in his room looking out his second-story window where he had a good view of the pasture to the east of his home. At around 5 a.m., the boy spotted a, quote, tall, hairy creature walking in the pasture, coming from south or the right. The boy estimated the creature at about 8 feet in height and told the officers it moved with long strides while its arms went back and forth like a human's would. The boy provided the officers further details of the thing's appearance. According to their report, quote, creature did not appear to have a neck, but it was capable of turning its head and appeared to be looking around. Except for its face, it was covered entirely with brown or black hair, about an inch to inch and a half long. The boy could not describe the creature's face, but said the nose appeared, quote, pushed in, unquote. He also reported that the thing's forehead protruded out, then upward to a rounded head. The witness said the creature's movement was very smooth and it did not appear to bend its knees very much as it walked. The creature's arms were thick, and there was no visible curve in the small of the thing's back. As the boy watched the hairy beast, it moved directly east of the house, where it was joined by another, smaller creature. The witness reported the second creature was the same color as the first, but about a head shorter. Oddly, the larger creature reached down and picked up a dark-colored object, about the size of a bale of hay, with something flapping on ends that looked similar to a piece of dark plastic. As the boy observed, the larger creature passed the item over to the smaller figure, then they continued toward the house. The creature came to within about 100 feet of the boy's home, at which point it appeared to look directly toward the young man's window. The frightened boy rushed downstairs and reported the incident to his father. By the time the boy managed to get his father to the window, the creatures had disappeared. The following day, the young man's sister found a track in the pasture, and she and her brother covered it with wood until the next day when they made a plaster cast of it. Officers Wilburton and Anderson were impressed by the young man's testimony and noted that the boy was upset over being misquoted in the newspaper, where it was reported that he had claimed the initial creature was 10 feet tall. The boy drew sketches of what he saw and gave them to the officers. The officers made their own cast of the track find and discovered that it was 3-toed, 17.5 inches long, and 7 inches wide. Apparently, the property was quite a hot spot for Bigfoot activity. While speaking with the boy's father, deputies learned about another incident 12 days prior to the boy's sighting. The boy's father reported that he had been taking a bath when he heard noises outside the bathroom window. He got dressed and went outside to investigate, and he discovered a large footprint in the snow outside the window. He reported that there were also other scratch marks on either side of the print. Wilburton and Anderson soon found that the whole family had stories to share. The boy's mother reported that a range of strange things had been occurring around the property. She reported hearing what sounded like heavy running outside the house, and she told officers that the family dogs had been acting frightened. Additionally, the family was hearing weird sounds they described as something between an elk bugling and dogs howling. Even more bizarre is a note regarding other tracks in the area, as reported in Mystery Stalks the Prairie.
Beautiful.
Quote, as officers searched the pasture area where the two creatures were seen, they noticed both cattle tracks and horse prints. When they asked the boy's father where the horses were taken out to pasture, he replied, there's never been horses in that pasture. 3-toed creatures, phantom horses. What exactly was taking place at this property? As far as the sheriff's office was concerned, the reports were valid, though unexplained. Wilburton's official report stated, quote, after talking to the boy and his family, I believe the boy did see what he reported. Another incident reported to me by a correspondent details a July 1976 sighting. A woman and her daughter watched a hairy creature for half an hour in Filing Gulch. The woman had driven up a remote logging road, and they were up picking berries when the daughter noticed a biped several hundred yards away. She described the creature as about 8 feet tall, with straw-colored hair on its head and shoulders, and darker brown hair on the rest of its body. Yeah, that must be nice camo. The thing was clearly watching the woman, and as it did, it moved its head from side to side. As the woman observed, the creature's head movement stopped, and it stood still. Finally, it sat down, keeping its attention on the two women. The daughter was curious and wanted to get a better look, so she started walking towards the Bigfoot. She didn't get far before she lost her nerve and backtracked. The women got back in the car and left the area. Now, the Great Falls Tribune mentioned another incident that occurred in July 76, 5 miles from Great Falls. A female motorist traveling at 5:30 a.m. on I-15 saw a hairy biped standing near the Great Knoll on the freeway, about 20 feet away. The creature was between 7 and 8 feet in height and covered in dark brown or black hair. The woman was shocked by the sight and stopped her vehicle as she watched the creature walk away to the west. Curiously, the same day, a 7.9 earthquake struck central Montana. Was the creature on the move that day because of the earthquake? Some researchers have noted a correlation between earthquake activity and Bigfoot sightings. Perhaps like other animals, they're sensitive to the pending earthquake about to happen. A report from July 21st, 1976 came from 4 men who said they saw a pair of bipedal hairy creatures walking along a hill toward the Rainbow Dam. The brief incident was noted in the Great Falls Tribune in its July 31st edition. This vague report was one of many in 1976, a very busy year for Montana's mystery creatures. In October, Gail Kupty of the Vaughan area had a sighting of an 8-foot-tall beast that appeared to be raiding her chicken coop. And boy, if you want to hear lots of reports of Bigfoot raiding chicken coops, just go anywhere down south. There's tons of them. Capty and her son had found the gate of a sheep pen open during the day and 18-inch prints around the pen. The prints were human-like, but had only 4 toes. Grain had also disappeared from one of Capty's storage bins, so it was clear that something was treating the Capty farm like a buffet. The woman was alerted by her dog barking that night, which led to her seeing the creature. She described it as, quote, tall, tan, and ape-like with very long arms, unquote. When the creature realized Capty was watching it, it ran away at high speed. OregonBigfoot.com website mentions a September 76 sighting from Silver Bow County involving yet another group of Boy Scouts. In this case, some scouts on a bus spotted a tall, hairy creature running behind some bushes before it vanished into a logging area. The creature also reportedly had a horrible smell. The sighting took place near Browns Gulch Boy Scout camp in Butte. Another account sent to me reports that an unidentified game guide and 2 clients hunting in the Tobacco Root Mountains. Man, there's such interesting mountain names here. Tobacco Root Mountains in October 1976 reportedly saw a pair of Bigfoot that stood 8 to 9 feet tall. The creatures were in a clearing about 100 yards from the men. Both creatures were coal black in color, but one had a white streak on its back. In the book Sasquatch, the Apes Among Us by John Green, he includes a brief note about the 3 men near Gerber in Cascade County who spotted a Bigfoot in April 77. The creature was 6.5 feet tall and covered in thick black hair that was about 4 inches long. The men decided to chase the creature. It initially ran, but then turned to face the men. Purportedly, the men stood their ground and drove the creature off. The Anomaly Research Bulletin, issue number 8, reported that a pair of campers saw 3 Bigfoot near Silver City, Lewis, and Clark County in June 1977. The creatures were a staggering 10 feet tall. A BFRO entry reports that a man out doing some night fishing in August 77 ended up sharing some of his catch with a Sasquatch, but it wasn't by choice. The man was fly fishing along the Missouri River near Hauser Dam in Lewis and Clark County. He used some rocks and formed a small circular pool near the water's edge to hold the fish he caught. It was after 11 o'clock and very dark, so the man placed a light on a boulder and continued fishing about 20 yards upstream of the light. He realized he had lost the fly off his line and headed back to the light to get a new one. As he approached the boulder, he noticed movement around the area and used his light to get a look at what he was dealing with. And he received quite a surprise. Quote, I was starting to hear a crackling sound and see movement from the brush. I pointed the beam directly at the movement, only 10 feet from me, and got a full view of a hairy bipedal creature moving very rapidly up the bank and quartering away from me in the downstream direction. It was very large and muscular, with long dark hair and seemingly no neck. Estimated height 7 to 8 feet, guessing 400 or 500 pounds. I could not see its face as it was moving away from me. It took long, powerful strides, and its arms were moved powerfully as a man would move, walking very rapidly. It was amazing to see how quickly it traversed over the boulders and up the steep embankment. I had the creature in the lamp beam for only a few seconds before it disappeared into the darkness. When the shocked fisherman turned to check on his catch, he received another surprise. Before the sighting of the creature, I had 4 trout ranging from 2 to 3 pounds in that pool, and after the sighting, there were only 2 trout. The creature must have been foraging along the river's edge and found an easy meal. Note that it left him to. The man took the remaining fish and his gear and headed out of the area. Sasquatch the Apes Among Us mentions a report from the same year, August 20, Staff Sergeant Fred Wilson of Malmstrom Air Force Base reported, and this is my favorite sighting from Montana, that he and a group of boys had been taken out into a wilderness spot, camping, and spotted a Bigfoot. Wilson said the group spotted a, quote, 15-foot creature on a ridge in Belt Creek Canyon. The incident occurred at 2 a.m. Heavy rain had moved into the area, leading the group to break camp. They were on their way to their vehicles when they heard noises that attracted their attention. By a flashlight beam, they saw a very large, hairy creature standing near a clump of bushes. According to Wilson, the thing was, quote, covered with long hair, having no neck, and standing on 2 legs. It was Wilson who estimated the extremely large height of 15 feet. One member of the party grabbed a shotgun and fired 2 shots in the creature's direction as it started running toward them. They made it into their cars and fled the scene. Wilson later took a polygraph test and passed. The guys, they don't include it in here, but his eyewitness statement on what it looked like is, he said it looked like a Mack truck coming at them. It was 15 feet tall. It was taking 40-foot strides, and it scared the living hell out of them. They barely could stay in front of it. It got caught up to the vehicle and buffeted it a couple times before they got going fast enough to put distance between them. So it was apparently not happy.
No kidding.
Around the same time, but farther west on the outskirts of Missoula, oh yeah, that's where I live, a young girl out horseback riding had a daytime encounter with a Bigfoot. The girl was riding in a wooded area bordering the Rattlesnake Wilderness. It was a peaceful summer ride until both the girl and her horse were startled by something unusual. As she recalls, quote, my horse stopped dead in its tracks and we rode through a meadow. There I was, face to face with a Bigfoot that was about 10 feet away from me. It was peeking out from behind a tree. It just stood there looking at me and didn't make a sound. I slowly turned my horse around and ran home. It must have stood at least 7 feet or more taller than myself. That was the only time I've ever witnessed one. The woman reported her sighting years later, 1997, to the BFRO. She adds a note in the 97 statement that indicates activity still continuing in the region. She says, as of today, my husband and myself built a home on the Clark Fork River on the outskirts of Missoula. Hey, that's where I live. And over the last 2 summers, we heard an odd sort of scream that sounds almost like a prehistoric bird, really gravelly, and it travels very fast, covering a lot of ground. This sound only happened in the summertime, usually right before daybreak or right after midnight. And the neighbors have also heard it, but no one can figure it out. It kind of sends chills down your spine, and all the neighbor dogs start to bark, like in your tape recordings. The witness was indicating recordings of purported Bigfoot sounds. The witness also added that her grandparents had spotted a Bigfoot 30 years previously. The couple saw the creature running through a river bottom near their home in the Swamp Valley. They said it looked like a hairy man loping through the brush on the river bottom that ran in front of their home. Apparently, Boy Scouts in Montana have a high probability of encountering a Sasquatch because yet another troop of scouts spotted one in July 1978 in Lewis and Clark County. According to the brief report given to me, a jamboree was being held near the town of Helena, and 2 young scouts spotted one of the creatures at the edge of the river. The beast was described as gorilla-like and about 6 feet tall. The 2 boys observed the creature picking leaves off a bush and eating them. After a few moments, the Bigfoot walked into the trees and disappeared. Unfortunately, no further details were provided, nor was the original source of the account reported to me. A hunting trip in the fall of 1978. I mean, my God, we're barely making any progress through the 70s here, Dave. You realize how many freaking reports are? Oh, my God.
The report.
Jesus, yeah, this place is just overrun with Bigfoot. Please come take some. A hunting trip in the fall of 1978 resulted in a Bigfoot sighting in Madison County near Virginia City. The witness recalled the sighting in a BFRO report and says he and his cousin, along with his father and uncle, were out for an early morning hunt on October 21st, the opening day of deer season. The reported witness and his cousin were riding in the back of a pickup truck as the group made its way up Alder Gulch. The pair was scanning the area looking for deer. On their right was a hillside meadow covered with thigh-high sagebrush. They spotted what they first thought was another hunter, but quickly realized the figure was in all black, something a hunter would never do. Looking at the figure, they realized it was an animal of some sort, and they knew what they were observing. As the witness recounts, make no bones about it, the animal had the distinctive dome-shaped head, with no neck, broad shoulders, and was solid black. The animal was facing us and slightly bent forward and looked as if it was resting its right arm on its right knee. It occurred to me that he or she knew it got caught out in the open, and it was just going to sit there motionless and hope we would drive right by. The closest tree line was about 50 yards away from the Bigfoot, and it had taken us only about 15 seconds to get back to where we could see the sagebrush meadow again. The witness later stated that the figure had, quote, no neck, and both men recall the incident to this day. The witness added, quote, I have hunted most of my life and have seen most animals that live in these woods. My cousin has been hunting all his life and knows every animal there is in the woods as well. We'll never forget that morning, and we talk about it with each other occasionally. Kalispell, yet another town in Montana's newspaper, the Weekly News, reported an incident in June 1979 involving 2 men who told Whitefish police that they had found tracks in a stream bed. A group of officials, including a game warden, a forest ranger, and a police officer, went out to investigate the report. Now, how different is that from some other states? You give them a report and they laugh at you and tell you to go away. Here they send out a friggin', team. Go investigate. It's probably legit. We get Bigfoot reports all the time. They're all over here. The men found 3 clear prints on a sandbar, several others on a gravel bank, and more in a nearby pasture. The tracks were 17 inches in length, 9 inches wide, and showed a stride of almost 5 feet. The game warden estimated the creature was in the neighborhood of 700 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's probably a light guesstimate. A plaster cast was made and sent to a scientist at the University of Montana. In the winter of 79, a motorist on Highway 200 saw a light-colored Sasquatch. Are we running out of time?
We've run out of time.
Yeah, run out of it. Well, we ran out of 70s reports, too, so 1980s next time.
Super Duke, thank you. We got Mr. Ron Bubblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Forgot how to breathe there for a second.
Oh, yeah, I was starting to get really harsh out throat while I was doing all that reading. But hey, what a Bigfooty night you had here on SOR tonight. This was a fun show.
It was interesting. I thought, excuse me. I thought Thomas was a lot more controlled than he's ever been.
Pretty much what I saw, too. Yeah, he kind of tends to get bent out of shape pretty easily and go off on tangents that you shouldn't say publicly and things like that.
Yeah. Got him once. Had to calm him down.
Yep.
He got a little political, but
he is an investigator, and keeping in mind that a lot of the stuff that he puts out is through the lens of his tribal knowledge. And that's one of the problems you get with Native American researchers, because everything is through the lens of what their tribe says. And, he's been in contact with guys from other tribes. And, like he mentioned being over in Nebraska with the red squatching guys and the Seetonga that they have over there, which isn't the same as the Pac West Sasquatch. But those guys don't see eye to eye at all. So, just because he says it's a certain way, that's that tribe's opinion, or maybe his own.
The beautiful part about it is there's still not answers.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of answers. There just makes more questions every time you get some of them.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
We find out basic information and stuff, and the best way to get information on any subject is to ask the subject. And everybody seems to not think of that. Well, we know that they're like people, right? They've got language. We've known that since the 70s with the Sierra Sounds. They've got a language. You can learn to speak it. All you need to do is find one friendly enough that it wants to teach you some of its language, or way easier. And as Thomas would point out, they all know the local languages we're speaking. They understand English and stuff. They might not be able to answer you back, but they'll understand what you're saying. And in most cases, yeah, they do still remember the local, whatever the native tongue is in that area. As long as there's any of the natives are still around there, they probably still remember that too.
Oh, probably.
I mean, there's some areas where the native population has been wiped out 100 years ago. There's none of them around anymore. And I doubt the Sasquatch in that area still remember the native tribal tongue. They all know English, though, because that's what everybody's speaking. And we were just doing some little bit of a dig on Ron Moorhead's Sierra Sounds the other day. And I had a specific question about a specific part of it that I asked to one of my friends who actually is in communication with them, like talks to them. They come and hang out in the yard. Some of them have pretty passable English skills too. They can say a whole sentence, and it's oftentimes not anything like what you would expect they would say, but frequently hilarious. And I asked him about the one segment in there where, and we played it for him, where there's a big alpha who is making these single words. What? Stuff like that.
Yes.
And Ron is trying to copy him. And now that we're off the air, I can actually say this part. Go back and listen to the video. If you ever heard somebody who's like partially deaf or completely deaf try and pronounce English, that's what Bigfoot sound like when they try and pronounce English, because they don't have an English teacher. They're hearing somebody shout it off in the distance, and they're listening, and they're trying to duplicate it. And they're pretty good at mimicry, but not 100% all the time. Like, we know one that knows what the word doctor is, but he can't say doctor. He says docker. So they don't always pronounce everything 100% perfect. So while this big male is making these sounds and Ron is mimicking back, he decides to make a sound he's heard humans make before and see if Ron mimics them back. And Ron didn't mimic them back. But if you go listen to it, what it sounds like is he says, "What the fuck?" What does that sound like in English?
Yep.
And that's exactly what it was, too, according to the Sasquatch down there. He was fucking with Ron.
I never even noticed that, dude.
Yeah, go back and listen to it. What the fuck? And then Ron doesn't say anything.
Oh, God, I didn't even notice that, man.
I caught it after about the fourth time through, and I went, that's freaking English, because that's what they sound like when they try and speak, in English, because they're not always necessarily like right next to you, hearing it perfectly over and over so they can duplicate the word. It comes out a little bit messed up. And he probably heard campers out there, like, hey, somebody took my beer. What the fuck?
Oh, gosh. That's awesome.
So, yeah, if you guys want to laugh your butts off, go listen to that section of the Sierra Sounds and tell me if that doesn't sound like he's going, what the fuck?
Oh, my word. That is brilliant, dude.
Well, I was curious, so we asked them, and yeah, that's what was going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, never forget they're friggin' comedians, and they're very, very smart. They like to screw around with us. So anyway, I got to get going here. Love you guys, and we'll see you around here next Thursday. Have a great Thanksgiving. Take care of yourselves. I love you all.
See you, Super Duke. Thank you for a great report, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's always fun. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah. There goes Super Duke. Now you're stuck with me. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's all good, though. What the fuck? That is awesome. My beard's itchy. I can probably get 200,000 views on a short just by combing my beard with my scratching, my bear claw scratcher.
When the moon hangs high on the breast of the lake, and the bite of the wind is like a slap in the face, a legend of horror lurks in the haze. It's Bigfoot. A giant of a creature, all covered with hair, as tall as a timber and strong as a bear. Y'all better not go walking out there with Bigfoot. Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Lock your doors and bolt your windows. Bigfoot's on the prowl. Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Lock your doors and bolt your windows. Bigfoot's on the prowl. For hundreds of years, this legend has grown about this big hairy man that walks all alone. A mountain monster 10 feet tall called Bigfoot. From the tales of the traders and trappers to the image on Indian walls. From the Bear Paw Mountains of Montana to the signs of the Great Shastas. From the Flatheads to Blackfeet and the Shoshones. He must have seen them all. And when the sun goes down in the northwest woods, if you listen, you can hear him call.